Do you think people don't want to get their plans in place? Do you think it's just like the fear of dying, or
A lot of it is that if is the fear of dying. If I don't talk about it, I don't think about it, it's never going to happen. But newsflash, we're all going to die. And you can, and just because you put together a plan doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
right?
It's just about being prepared and helping to protect your family and making sure that everything that you worked hard for gets to who you want it to get to.
Mr. Farbiarz,
Mr. Vásquez,
what's up, bro?
I'm here finally.
I'm getting a lot of those. Finally, I'm here. Yeah, man, it's a long time coming.
Yeah, I know we talked about it, but schedules are schedules.
I know you're too busy protecting the good people of Berks County, and I'm making them look good.
You make them look better than they actually are.
Don't let that out. Don't let that secret out. Yeah, man. So I guess this one's interesting because I know you already. I've known you for a long time, so I don't think there's any mystery left. But maybe people just need to learn more about you, man. Because I know you have your own podcast. You're doing pretty well with.
Yeah. So, as you know, I'm an attorney here in Berks County, and I say that because you've gotten to know very intimately everything we do because you're working on our website redesign right now.
Yeah.
So you know more than probably ever wanted to know. But we primarily practice in the areas of estate planning, probate or estate administration, Medicaid or nursing home planning, and real estate. In addition to the law firm, I also own a real estate title company called Northeast Berks Abstract, which is both businesses are based in Hamburg, and we also have an office in a place that's very familiar to you, which is 928 Penn Avenue.
Right on. Right in the back, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
So we, and I forgot what the question was, but that's pretty much.
It's so cool. That's how podcasts go, man.
Yeah.
Because you ask one question, and you go off on this other tangent.
Oh, I know.
And you're just gone.
That's what you were asking about. So we also do have a podcast, Not Minding My Own Business. We drop an episode every Tuesday at noon on our Facebook page for Antanavage Farbiarz. And you can also find it on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And we already had you on, Mr. Vásquez.
Yes.
Last year, and we're going to have you on again in the next couple of weeks or a month or so to talk about some web tips for 2022. 23. What year is it? 2023.
You dig podcasting, man? Like, do you like doing it?
I do. I actually really, it's funny. I was having lunch with someone earlier today.
B2 Bistro.
Yes. How did you know? It's always B2 Bistro. They changed their menu today on me.
Did they?
Yeah, they took some stuff off and added some other stuff. So it took me a moment, but yes.
All right, no doubt. That's good.
B2 Bistro.
Right on.
And I said, well, why do you do this? Because he's someone who's considering coming on the podcast, and I do it because I want to let other people know about the great businesses that are here in Berks County, and it also is but it also is a good way to meet people that I wouldn't otherwise meet, create referral relationships with people that I wouldn't otherwise create those relationships with. And, after the last, 3 years of hunkering down, it's sort of nice to be out meeting new people, talking to new people. And I've really enjoyed it. And I always tell people, go back and listen to episodes one, the first couple episodes, because they're terrible.
Yeah, no, mine are horrific. I don't even go back. I'm just like, it's there.
Yeah.
I won't delete it. It exists. That's the end of it.
Right. But, as you start doing it, I don't know how many episodes we did last year, but, probably 30 or 40 at least.
Yeah, easy.
And, you just sort of get into a groove and you get used to doing it. And it's just nice talking to new people and getting to know what people are doing out here in Berks County.
Yeah, exactly. I have a good time doing it because you're right. Like this morning, I had Annabelle Bowers on this morning. She's a photographer here, AB Photography, and I knew of her. Never met her in person. It was nice just to sit down and talk to her for a little bit. Talked about photography, talked about why she wanted to do it, and all those great things. And you making new friends. Like that's pretty much what happens because like now we're buds. And we're gonna be friends for who knows how long. But it's just cool because out of podcasts, I've been able to have awesome relationships and meet new people. Because you're right. Otherwise, I mean, how would I know them? How would I find them? Unless they're networking or unless they needed a website, which obviously I don't want to limit my friends to those people.
Right, and it also keeps you top of mind because when she needs a website, she's going to think, well, Freddie had me on his show. Maybe I should go talk to him.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. But I do just want to meet people. It's not always about money, right, Russ?
Not everything's about money.
Yeah. So you had the law firm Antanavage Farbiarz, dating back to since I've known you. It was 10 years maybe now. Has it been maybe 9?
Well,
I know Sam longer than you.
Sam's my dog for everyone listening. And Sam is 13.
There it is, 13.
But I know we've known Jill probably about 11 years.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really met you until a year or two after that.
Yeah, it was cool. I needed a lawyer, and Jill's like, "Oh, one of my clients is a lawyer," and you come over and we discuss what I needed you for, and then I found out you were not only a Mets fan, which is amazing. You're from Long Island, which is amazing.
Yeah, we actually grew up not that far from each other. But
yeah,
never met on Long Island, but met here.
Yeah. Now we used to go to opening day games. We've been to Met games. We text each other when the Mets do dumb stuff, which is all the time. Mm-hmm. I think we're only happy in the off season. Yeah.
Right, because they can't lose.
Yeah.
They've already done it. We've already dealt with it.
I know, and now they're supposed to get Correa, and Correa just signed with the Twins today. Not the worst thing in the world.
No, apparently Correa cares more about money than he cares about winning because I don't think he's winning a series anytime soon with the Twins.
I mean, maybe he just grabbed the he got a ring with the Astros. I mean, quote unquote.
Well,
cheaters, but
that's the thing. Does it really count when you cheated to get there?
Yeah, I know. So then, does he have a legit ring yet? I don't know. If he does not. He only won 17.
No, because he left the Astros and went to the Twins.
Right.
And it's opted out of that contract to re-sign with the Twins.
Yeah.
Which
pending physical.
Everything's pending physical, and who knows? He might be a free agent again in 2 weeks because there's clearly an issue with his ankle.
Yeah.
So,
but Scott Boras is his agent, so you know how that goes.
Right.
Because that guy's a piece of work. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, why a lawyer, Russ? Like, take me back. I don't think I've ever asked you that question. Like, what was it in your brain that said, you know what? I think I'm going to go practice law.
It's a good question. For as long as I can remember growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer.
I don't mean to cut you off. You ever see the beginning of Goodfellas?
I can't remember.
Oh my God! In the beginning, Henry Hill's like, for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. That's you said that exactly. I was like, oh my God, it's Goodfellas. It's Goodfellas. It's Henry Hill, but he's a lawyer.
Right.
Sorry, man.
No worries. So, but at the base of it, I'm a lawyer because I like to help people. And I know a lot of people think lawyers, they don't help anyone, they help themselves. But it's not true. In the work that I do every day, what I'm doing is helping people solve probably one of the biggest problems that they have, or plan for things that might come in the future. And my goal is to help them put together a plan and give them peace of mind. That's why I do what I do, and that's why I ended up becoming a lawyer.
How many people don't have a plan in place, man?
Probably most. I'd say probably at least 50%. And the most common thing I hear from people after they're done is, "Wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be."
No, it's not.
And it's not. And the idea is we try to make it as easy as possible to get a plan, because the last thing we want people to do is just kick it down the road, don't do it. And now when they die, the state decides how things are distributed. And why would you ever want to let the government make a decision for you that you can make for yourself?
Right. Exactly.
Especially because the rules that are in place are from the 1950s. Families don't look the way they did in the 1950s.
No, not at all.
This is not Leave It to Beaver anymore. I once did a presentation on this, and I had a picture from Leave It to Beaver up, when I talked about these rules. So.
What do you why do you think people don't want to get their plans in place? Do you think it's just like the fear of dying, or
a lot of it is that if is the fear of dying. If I don't talk about it, I don't think about it, it's never going to happen. But newsflash, we're all going to die. And you can, and just because you put together a plan doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
right?
It's just about being prepared and helping to protect your family and making sure that everything that you worked hard for gets to who you want it to get to.
Right. And I think we did our estate planning. We should probably update it, actually.
Probably.
It's been a long time. I mean, we had like our sisters taking care of our kids, and now they're 21. So
yeah, your kids are able to take care of themselves.
yeah.
Pretty soon they're going to be taking care of you.
Right. Oh geez. Oh geez, eat it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm into that. I mean, not at all. But what do you think is the what do you think is the number one issue that you see because somebody doesn't get their estate plan in place? Like, it's like, you get that thing across your desk, like, oh geez, another one. If they would have just freaking did this estate plan, they wouldn't have to go through this. I'm sure there's like this one thing that probably always happens.
Well, there are multiple things, but one is I absolutely hate when I see people paying inheritance tax that they could have avoided if they had a plan. So, I don't want to get too technical because I'll put all your listeners to sleep. But essentially, if you die, a part of your estate would go to your spouse, and a part would go to your children.
Right.
Well, the part that goes to your spouse is not taxed, but the part that goes to your children is taxed. And most people, that's not their intention. Their intention is, well, if I die, I want it to go to my wife or my husband.
Right.
But by not putting the plan in place, they can potentially create this taxable event that didn't need to exist.
So if you don't have a plan in place and you die, so if I died today, God forbid, right? All my stuff, if I didn't have a plan in place, would go to Jill and the kids automatically?
Well, your situation is a little different because one of your kids, I don't know if you.
Oh no, you have a stepdaughter.
You have a stepdaughter.
Yeah.
So in that situation, your stuff would go half to Jill, half to your daughter,
and nothing to Adri.
Nothing to Adri.
Oh, and that's if I don't have a plan and I just died. That's what the state does.
Correct.
And because it goes to my child, it gets taxed as opposed to Jill, it's not taxed.
So technically, the tax rate for between spouses is 0%. So there's no tax, but the tax rate is 4.5% going to children. So if you have, if there's a bunch of stuff in your name only, and it's going to go through your estate, now you could potentially be paying tax that you wouldn't otherwise be paying, or that so it's important to put together a plan. I also see people, not getting powers of attorney in place so that if there's someone who can make financial decisions for them, if they become incapacitated. And then what happens is you gotta go to court and ask the court to appoint a guardian. Well, that involves doctors and lawyers, and it gets expensive real quick. And every time you want to do something as a guardian, you got to ask the court for permission. And so the legal fees just keep mounting and mounting and mounting. And we do a power of attorney, you can avoid a lot of that.
So power of attorney just when I get incapacitated, somebody will just be appointed automatically because that's who I appointed right out of the gate.
Well, and that's the other thing. You raise a good point. I mean, maybe you don't realize it, but you've decided who makes those decisions.
Right.
You go to court. A judge who doesn't know you, who's in a black robe up there, is going to make that decision for you and your family. You want to make that decision. You want to decide. I want Jill to make my decisions if I'm not able to.
Right.
And you also want to make sure that you have a healthcare power of attorney so that your agent can make healthcare decisions for you rather than letting a judge decide who's going to make those decisions for you.
What do I have? Do I have one of those?
You have everything.
Of course, because I went to you. That's why I have everything.
But I do think it is important to keep estate planning documents up to date. I tell people this is not set it and forget it. And now whenever we do an estate planning package, we include a free review in 3 years because
that's cool.
Because we think that you need to come back and we need to make sure that because life changes,
right?
And we want to make sure that things aren't. We always want to make sure things are the way you want them to be, based on your current circumstances.
Right, because you could be in a certain way. Like, you do your estate planning today and you might have, I think Jill told me a story like that because what happened was Jill's stepfather, great dude, I never met him, unfortunately. He passed before I even knew Jill existed. But all of his stuff went to his previous wife and kids, even though he was married to, Jill's mom. It's like Jill's mom didn't get anything because it was never updated. So everything went to like the ex. I'm pretty sure that's how the story went.
There are some laws now that would prevent that from completely going in that direction,
right.
But definitely there can be unintended consequences. And the other thing you got to consider is your estate has many different facets to it. It's not just your house or your bank account. You've also got to, if you have a retirement account or investment accounts or life insurance, you have beneficiary designations on those. You want to make sure that those are up to date, that they say who you want things to go to. So there's so many different moving parts that you want to make sure that you're thinking of everything. That's why you want to work with a professional. A lot of people like to go online. No offense, it's where you live, and LegalZoom or things like that. They're only as good as you are,
right?
Because you have, if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know,
right?
And
exactly,
and that's all gonna spit at all that really does is just spit something out that based on what you've put in. But good news is coming down the line sometime this year is if you don't want to come out of your house to go meet with an estate planning lawyer, that's fine. We're gonna have a new offering where you can really do about 90% of the process sitting in your living room.
That's awesome.
You'll be able to talk with an attorney in our office over the phone or over Zoom, access some information online, and then the only part that really needs to be done, in an office, would be the actual signing. Of course, if you don't want to do that in the office, we can send a mobile notary out to you, and you can do it all at your kitchen table. So that's something that will be coming out here sometime this spring. We'll have that offering out. Yeah,
I think that's one of the things, right? Everybody gets so used to like life now being so catering to them. Mm-hmm. Like even the thing I tried out for the first time the other day, only because I was in like a super rush, and Jill was like, "Oh, I needed like 2 bins and a candle lighter." I don't even remember why I needed those 2 things.
It's kind of a random.
Yeah, it's probably for the office. Actually, it is for the office. Who am I kidding? It was for Christmas. Anyway, she's like, "Oh, just do the drive up thing." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, order it, and they come out and bring it to you." I'm like, "Oh," and I felt so lazy utilizing that service, but I think because of COVID, it ramped up that feature because like some places were offering it like Giant and stuff. I think before COVID, but now it's like everybody started doing it because they were trying to find ways to make money during COVID, blah, blah, blah. But I think people just got so used to it. I don't think they're going to get rid of it.
Oh no, those signs at Target are permanent.
Yeah. So now I'm like, so everybody's trying to figure out a way like to just, that's where like everything's going. So it's It's cool that for you guys, it's like, yeah, we launched a new website this year. We're putting this brand new services where you can get your estate planning done literally 90% online, like you said. And even then, if you don't want to leave your house, we're just going to mail it to you. And then you sign it and then bring it back and you're good to go.
Yeah, we'll probably end up sending out Brian Klein from Blue Ink Notary, and he'll help you. He'll do all the notary work for you. So, but it's, we still have our traditional offerings.
Yeah.
For those that want to come into the office and they want to sit face to face, we have that both in the Hamburg office and the Wyomissing office. But for those that don't have particularly complex estate planning needs, we can do that online option, and I'm thinking it's going to be great for some people to access services. People are busy. They don't have time to drive to the office, sit there, and we can do a lot remotely that to make it more convenient for people.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a good thing. Even though yes, I know that things are a little bit impersonal maybe for my taste, but it is the easy factor. You can get it done quicker. There's no excuse not to have it. I mean, just even talking about those couple things about the estate planning, like, you probably told me this, and I'm not saying you didn't tell me this, but I don't remember anything. But it just proves why you should get a professional in place. Like, you just telling me that my wife doesn't get taxed when my kid gets taxed. It's like, dang, like I didn't know that. But again, you probably told me and I just don't freaking remember. So it is good to make sure you understand this, which is another point why you should hire professionals to do things in your life. You can't do everything yourself. I'm talking to all the people that use Wix out there. I'm just saying.
and absolutely, I was talking to someone yesterday, and he said to me, "What sort of access do you have to your website?" I said, "None."
I mean, if you want it, you can have it.
I know that, but my point is that there's a reason that people like you exist, and there's a reason why people like I exist.
Yeah.
And I would rather pay you to make sure that my website does what it needs to do, doesn't do what it doesn't need to do, and I don't have to think about it. And that's that's the who not how concept. But I think there are definitely things we can do for ourselves.
Sure.
But there are things because you don't know what you don't know.
Right, and that's why I'm glad I have you, because I remember Jill and I finally said, "Hey, we have to go do this." Like, at that point in time before we saw you, if we would have both died in an accident or something, we had nothing in place, dude. And that's scary. I know a lot of the times you think, like you said, okay, it's not going to happen to me, or like I'm never going to die or whatever. Like, dude, if I've known anything about this life, man, it could be taken away from you in like a millisecond. I mean, I could go outside just to go grab the mail, slip on a piece of ice in February, crack my neck. I mean, bye. It's like, see you later.
Well, I was, occupational hazard. I look at the obituaries on a regular basis, and I saw that Frank Dembowski, who you may or may not know, but he was he worked in city government, was very well liked and well respected. I didn't know him personally, but he passed away over this past week. He was 46 years old.
I think I did see that.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah,
but you just think about that. 46 years old. I mean, that's not really that much older than you or I.
It's two years away from me.
Right. So it can happen, and I work with families who have young children, and making sure that there's a plan in place so that if I call it dying early, if they die early, that there's someone to take care of their kids. There's someone to take care of the money to make sure that it's used the right way for the benefit of their kids. So all the things. You gotta think about all these things, and a lot of times I bring up things and I ask questions, and usually I ask a question and someone says, well, I didn't think about that.
Of course. Well, there was one thing you brought up like 2 seconds, not 2 seconds ago, but and it left my mind again. That's actually twice in one freaking conversation. I wanted to ask you these specific questions, and it just flew off. No, it was something good too. It was again about the estate planning. Oh, okay. So you were talking about beneficiaries, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I have like an E-Trade account. It's not $1 million. It's like $2,000 in there right now because the stocks took a dump. Whatever.
It used to be about 100, but now
Yeah,
it's
it used
two.
to be amazing, and now it's like. But of course, when you have things like that, they go, well, who's your beneficiary? And then you have an IRA. Who's your beneficiary? You know, and I use Dominic, of course, and we set it all up. But then you were talking about beneficiaries. So if I have a estate plan in place, and it says my beneficiary is Jill, can it say like, okay, my beneficiary is Jill for everything? And does that like override the individual beneficiary stuff?
So if you have a will or a trust, that will not override what you have with your IRA or with E-Trade or whatnot. That's why I say it's important to sort of think about all of these things together,
Right.
because you want to make sure you avoid unintended consequences. Where, you know, let's say, you know, you've made Jill a beneficiary, and you know, something happens. You and Jill part ways, and you get married to what's your favorite swimsuit model?
Don't have one. Don't set me up to fail, Russ.
You know, you get married
to another lady.
To another lady.
Yes.
In case Jill's listening.
Yeah, she will listen to this. Guy's setting me up for divorce.
Well, we don't do that anymore, so we can't help you.
You can't even help me.
And then you die, and this other unnamed lady who shall never exist,
Will never exist.
she finds out that your IRA account that's, you know, worth $1.5 million, you know, is going to jail,
Right.
you know, because you didn't change your beneficiary. Now, for your listeners, everything I'm saying is a little bit of an oversimplification.
Sure.
And, you know, not legal advice. You know, this is just, you know, just sort of some general concepts. But that's why it's so important to make sure that you have your plan updated, and
Right.
that you're thinking about all the different parts, because at one point it was, well, you own things in your name, you need a will, but now we own this, you know, we own our house, we own accounts, and now, you know, a whole nother subject is we also own all these digital assets, you know, and that's also, you know, when we do our documents, we include language that directs what happens to your digital assets, your social media pages, you know.
Wow, you guys get into that detail, huh?
We have to, because
Whoa.
there's so much out there that, you know, to really do a good job and be comprehensive.
Wow. What about, here's a good question you just made me think of. Okay, so I get my estate plan set up. A few years go by, my kids get older. Like, okay, my kids are older now. So Jill and I should go back in there and take care of this again. God forbid, you know, Jill goes before I do. And then...
No chance.
Right, I know. Forget it. I'll be dead next week. But like, and then I forget to go in there and update everything, right? And then, now let's just make an example that there are no children. Okay, so let's say Jill should have got it. Jill, you know, passes away, whatever, first, and then I die. Where does my stuff go?
There are laws that essentially say, well, if there's no children, then are there siblings? Are there nieces and nephews? I mean, there's this whole line, you know, and then the taker of last resort is the state or the Commonwealth.
Also, it will go through that line of certain family members.
Right. But that's also why it's important, you know, again, you know, beating the dead horse here, have a plan, because when we put a plan together, I'm not going to say, well, you're going to do a will and you're going to leave everything to your wife and that's going to be it. I'm going to say, well, what happens if Jill dies before you? Where do you want your stuff to go, and who do you want to be in charge?
Yeah.
Because we want to think about those things because they happen. And we want to make sure that the plan isn't going to only work in a very limited circumstance.
Right, because like even like, again, God forbid something happens. I say I want my kids to have it, but technically Adri's not my kid. So if I don't have it in writing, she gets nothing. And even if she goes down the line, even if you go down that family line, does Adri get anything?
She's not a blood. She's not
blood.
She's not a blood relative. So that's what, you know, and there is some language in the code about stepchildren, but let's not rely on the gray. Let's make it black and white.
Right. That makes sense to me. So now, and I'm just going to go one more step. Adri did have her name changed to Vasquez, though.
Yes, I know.
So would they even know?
Who's they?
You know, the powers that be. They go, hey, wait a minute.
I mean,
and that could also be a question because Angie's last name's not Vasquez.
One day, Adri's last name also may not be Vasquez.
That's true.
So it's one of those,
It's like, Fred, come in and sign the freaking paperwork, all right?
Yeah. Don't rely on the gray.
Right. Don't rely on the gray. That makes total sense. I mean, it's just interesting. It's so cool to, it's funny because nobody wants to talk to a lawyer, right? Nobody wants to sit down. They don't want to do the estate planning. They don't want to be like, ba, 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 ba. But once you put them in the room and you're talking to a lawyer, your brain starts to just go off on these different tangents. Like, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? It's so worth it for you to take the time just to make an appointment and talk to Russ, your friendly neighborhood lawyer.
And it's easier than ever because you don't even have to come to the office anymore.
No, just do it online, man.
Because we still do Zoom, we do phone, and like I said, we do in person. We have the two offices, and we'll meet with you face to face and go through things.
Yeah, man. And you know what? If you want, you can tell Russ you want to meet here in Wyomissing, in beautiful 928 Penn Avenue.
Yeah,
of course. Well, Mr. Farbiarz, it was great to hang out with you, man, and talk.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into the Mets because you know where we live now. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad I finally got the opportunity to be on here with you.
Yeah, man, this is great. I mean, I really dig, talking to you, and we have better conversations when we're not, on air, being recorded live. But like I said, we won't talk about the Mets today. But it's always a good time, man. I can't wait for our next podcast episode. And it'd be really cool to do this again in like a year, because just to see where everything's come, how the estate planning is coming, or if there's new services, and I think I'd really love to have an episode, maybe quicker than that, maybe 6 months or so, where we talk about what happens to your digital assets if you pass away, because I never even thought about social media. I'm like, oh yeah, what the hell happens? And I'm so interested in that too, because okay, Jill has access to my Facebook, but how do you get access if she doesn't know what the password is?
Well, and that's the thing, is that there are ways. Facebook's a great example because Facebook has a memorial option where you can actually go in, and in your settings you can set someone in Facebook as essentially as your representative if you would die, that they would be able to have access. But not everyone remembers to do that sort of stuff. So you need to have very specific language in your documents so that your executor or your power of attorney, if you're still alive, can access that information, because Facebook is not going to give someone your password.
Right.
They don't care who it is. They don't care if it's your wife. They're not giving her your password without some sort of legal documentation, because the moment they start doing that, then they don't have a secure site.
Wow.
So
insane.
There's so many things to think about.
That'd be a cool episode to talk about that, because nobody ever thinks about that. So of course, nobody ever thinks about estate planning, but what happens to all your crazy accounts?
Well, right, and now we all have so many of them.
I know, there's tons. Sometimes I see emails from places I forgot I signed up for.
Right. It used to, 30, 40 years ago, it was you had your house and you had maybe 2 or 3 bank accounts.
Yeah.
Now it's everything is more complicated than that.
Well, it's social media. It's not easy.
The internet.
Oh, the interwebs. All right, Russ, man. Thank you so much again for your time. I'll talk to you real soon, brother.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode of Fred Talk. And I hope you totally dug what you just saw. And if you did, make sure you like and subscribe, because I need you to watch all my videos, because, YouTube, all those great things. And you can check us out online at fredtalk.tv.